Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Divorce Made Me Funny. I'm your host, Rheagan, and I'm here solo today. There's something on my mic. I know the last few episodes have been guest based. I think the past three have. So I thought it was time to come on here, just me, and chit chat with all of y'all. Um, this is technically the 11th episode, but you've hopefully listened to 10. So I thought that's a good number to do, like, for lack of a better word, like a check-in, like how are you guys doing kind of thing, except you can't talk back to me, so I'm just going to be yapping at you. But before we get into all of it, I am going to obviously get into the weekly bits. So, bow days, humbling experience, and fave/rec. And I always feel the need to explain what they are. Like every episode, I'm like, I have to explain to everybody what this is. And I'm like, okay, I can lay off of that, but just reminders, little, Cliff Note version. Bow days are just like your favorite day that happened that week and why. And my bow day was Friday night this past week. I had a few friends over, and we did we had a dinner, and we just sat down and chit-chatted and caught up, and it was really fun, even though I see all of them pretty regularly, so it wasn't like huge updates, but it was just a good little girl hangout, and it was really chill, except Emma and I stayed up till like 2:30 just yapping away because we have a habit of doing that, and Caroline kept trying to leave, but we just kept talking, and I was like, get out now. Like, you want to go home, you want to go to bed. I would get out immediately. And it was just good. The food was good. The wine was good. Emma got a block of wine from Trader Joe's. She kept calling it a block, and I was like, girl, that's a box. It's not a block. But it was all around a good day. And another bow day that I had this week was, I think, Wednesday. Yeah, it was Wednesday. I got new contacts finally. If you listen to the 23 things I learned in 2023 episode, you know that I've been struggling with contacts, or if you know me, like, and see me on the regular, and these do not bother me at all. This was actually, I had to go through like 2 trial contacts or contact lenses, and I had ripped a hole in both of them. Don't ask me how I did it. I have no idea. I guess I was just being particularly aggressive with these contacts, and I just kept ripping them, and I was like, hey, what do I do? And they're like, you've exhausted all your options. I was like, how do you exhaust all your options from like the trial lenses? Like, are you out of lenses? I literally only tried 2, but whatever. I actually went back to the first one. I've had them in I've taken them out obviously, but I've been using them for a couple of days now, and I haven't had issues. And I've been very careful about how I take them out or put them in, and make sure I'm not like, grabbing them with like my nail and just ripping a hole. So 2 bow days this week. I am so happy that these contacts just do not bother me. It's been quite a journey with that. And then my humbling experience this week. Fun fact, I am now a trivia host. I host trivia every Wednesday at this bar in Dallas. And I know you're like, oh my God, Rheagan has another hobby with a microphone. I mean, what do you expect? The 3 things that make up my personality are karaoke, podcast, trivia. Like, love it all. And I get to hold a microphone in every single one. But I went and trained one night at the place that I host at every week. And then I was supposed to have another night of training, but they needed somebody to cover at another bar. So I went by myself and then trained with someone else there. Someone else came, and we were like the 2 trainees hosting the trivia. I mean, it's not rocket science. Oh, the name of the trivia company I work for is called Not Rocket Science Trivia. I didn't even mean to do that. That was crazy. Little plug in. But we did it together, and it was great. Like, a lot of people were playing. It was kind of overwhelming, but like you get the hang of it. So last Wednesday, I hosted at my place that I'll be hosting regularly for the first time ever. It was Valentine's Day, and I brought my friend Luke with me because everybody else was busy on Valentine's Day and he wasn't. So I was like, you can be my Valentine and watch me host trivia. And I went around and, I announced that we were about to start trivia, and then I just started going around to each table asking if they wanted to play, and I got a pretty good number. I think I got 7 or 8 teams playing, and I was like, oh, yes, like this is so fun. I'm going to kill it. And then all the teams just left. They started leaving, and I don't think it had anything to do with me, but it was just funny because when I was telling them how it worked, I was like, hey, this game takes about an hour. It's super quick. You get first through third, places get a gift card. It's fun, whatever. And they were like, oh yeah, like definitely. Like I remember there was this family that was playing, and they had like 3 or 4 like rowdy children, and then they left after the first round, which was fine. These teenage boys were like, yeah, we'll play. And then they didn't turn in their first answer, like from the first round. So I went up to them and I'm like, do you have your answer? And they were like eating, and they were like, you didn't give us a pin. All the while the pin that I gave them was sitting right there. I was like, okay. I was like, you could have just said you don't want to play. Like, it will not hurt my feelings if you don't want to play. I get paid either way, right? And then everybody else was playing and having a good time. And then there was this other man at the bar who was playing with like his wife or girlfriend or whatever. They were older, and he was like, I like announced that they could bring their answers up to me when they were ready. And he was like, I have to get up. And I was like, do your legs not work? Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, give me your answer, you weirdo. And then I think it was like the 5th round. I'm not sure. It was like later in the game though. And he was the only guy who didn't give me his answer. So like I went up to him. I'm like, do you have your answer? And he was like, I'm tired of getting up. Like, I don't want to get up anymore. And I was like, okay, I can come and get your answers, from you. And he was like, well, I didn't hear the questions. And I was like, I can repeat them. I have them right here. And he was like, oh my God. He was like, I just like, I'm tired of thinking, like I want to play bingo. And I'm like, okay, well, sorry. Thanks for playing. I was like, you weirdo. His team name was Booba. Like, I was like, hello. I was so just like, you could just say you don't want to play. You do not have to give me all of these excuses. And then the other team, those were like the 3 teams that like pissed me off. And then the other 3, or the other couple, like the other people that had left, it was just like, oh, we're like leaving the restaurant. Oh, we have somewhere to be, like that kind of thing. But yeah, so it got down to 3 people. And when it got down to 3 teams, I was like, do not leave. All of y'all leave winners. Like every single one of y'all will get a prize. So like just stay. We have a round left. Like I was so pissed. And it was just like kind of humbling because it was just like, why are you leaving? Like, what's the point of leaving? Like, hello. But it's still fun and great. It was just interesting. And I also don't blame them either because the Mavs game was on and I just kept interrupting the Mavs. Like, I'd be like, all right, the answers to round 3. I'm like, I hate myself. Like, this is so embarrassing. So it has its ups and downs. And I go to trivia every Thursday, and Sierra, the girl who hosts the trivia that I go to, she was just like, you'll get better and like more confident and all this kind of stuff. And she was like helpful. She was like, people suck sometimes, but like just whatever, don't let it like affect you. And I was like, nah, it didn't affect me. It was just weird. I was like, why is everybody leaving? Trivia is so fun. But yeah. So if you live in the Dallas area, you should come to trivia every Wednesday. I'll let you know where it is. I don't need these weirdos stalking me because I'm so famous. So I'm not going to give, I'm kidding. Okay, moving on. My fave / wreck. Okay, y'all, this is not a fave. It's not a fave, but I definitely recommend it. And you're probably like, how does that work? And I'm like, okay, I'm about to tell you. So if you've been listening to the past few episodes, I think you know that I'm pretty into audiobooks these days. I don't listen to like the self-help books. Like, I don't listen to those. I'll read those, but I will listen to a fiction novel, a romance novel, I will listen to it. And I was searching on TikTok. Like, I love that TikTok is now a search engine for me. Like, if I ever need ideas for anything, I go to TikTok. And they were telling me about this book that was so heart-wrenching or gut-wrenching and devastating and heartbreaking, and it's like the best but worst book of your life and all this stuff. And I was like, I need to read that immediately. Like, I need to feel something. I always need to feel something. And it was called If He Had Been With Me. Actually, okay, I'm going to give spoilers. If you're not going to if you're not going to read the book, feel free to listen. If you think you want to read it, you can skip ahead a few minutes. I'm going to be talking about it for a second. So I listened to the first book, and it's about these two best friends. They were a guy and a girl, and their moms were best friends, and they basically were hooked at the hip until middle school, and then they kind of like drifted apart. And then like in high school, like in middle school, she was the cool girl and he was like the nerdy kid. And then it kind of not flipped, but in high school he became like the most popular guy in school, and then she was just like in this misfit friend group, for lack of a better word. That's what she called herself. So like, whatever. I mean, bitch was wearing a tiara every fucking day, so she was a misfit. And they were just secretly in love with each other, but they were also dating like other people and like having their own like lives and friend groups. They would still like air quote hang out like when they would have like dinner with their moms or something, but like they weren't friends, like, you know. And in her point of view, it was just like, I love my boyfriend Jamie, I think that was his name, but it's a different love than I have for Finney. Yeah, the girl and guy, his name was Phineas, but some people called him Finn, but she called him Finney. And then the girl's name was Autumn. And she just like realized she loved him, and her boyfriend like broke up with her because he like slept with her best friend, which was crazy. I was like, damn. And then she just started hanging out with Finney while his girlfriend was like studying abroad or something in like Europe. So she was gone all summer, and they just were hanging out. Nothing like weird, like they were just platonic friends who were secretly in love with each other. And it was just like, oh my God, get together. And I got to a point where there was about 10 chapters left in this book, and I'm listening to it, right? And these like chapters, like when you listen to them, they were only like 4 to 5 minutes long, maybe 6. I think the longest chapter was 12 minutes. So these chapters were probably like 4, 5, 6 pages, right? And I'm 10 episodes. I'm 10 chapters, you know, until the end. And nothing gut-wrenching had happened. Like nothing like sad had happened. And I was just like, when does the sad part happen? I was not prepared. So then one night they like get it on. They admit their feelings for each other, and then they like do it, and they do it with like, they do it unprotected, you know? And they're like, I love you, I love you, I love you. And you're just like jumping up and down like in your mind because you're like, yay, they got together. And then y'all, oh my God, he goes, like his girlfriend had like gotten back the next day, and he goes to break up with her. He's like, I have to break up with her before like we do anything else. Like, I'm a cheater. Like, this is wrong. But I always love you. I would always choose you and love you. So like, whatever. And he's getting ready to go break up with her. And Autumn is like, please don't go. Like, go tomorrow. And he's like, girl, I have to do this now. And then he's like, I'll come back and leave your back door unlocked, and I'll sneak in and like, you know, we'll hang. I don't remember like what exactly he said. He probably was like, we'll cuddle all night. And she's like, okay. And then the next chapter was like 3 paragraphs, maybe. It was like not even half a page. And her door had opened in the middle of the night. She woke up and she was like, Finney? And then her mom was there and was like, oh, Autumn, he died. He fucking died in a car accident. Like, he had crashed, and his fucking dumbass girlfriend didn't have a seatbelt on, so she flew through the windshield. And he's just so kind-hearted that he was like, I have to get out and help her. And I guess he like, I think it was like he stepped into a puddle with like a broken power line and got electrocuted. And after that, there were 3 chapters left in this book. You had 3 chapters to recover from this. And I was listening to it at work like a podcast, and I was like, I just could not believe what I was listening to. And I was like, my chest was like, tight. Like, and I was like, I'm scared. And then the next chapter, I guess she was just like, Phineas died on this day and I'm depressed. And then she attempted to kill herself in his bedroom. And I was like, that's crazy. And then she failed. Like, it was a attempt. Like, they saved her. I don't know how she did it. I was kind of skimming through at that point. I was like, I have to know what happens at the end. Then the last chapter, she's like in a mental hospital and she finds out that she's pregnant. And then it just fucking ends. That book just ended. And I was like, what was that ending? Felt a little rushed to me. I was like, where's the rest? And then I had Googled it and I had found out that the author of this book had released a second book in his point of view. So I can't listen to that one because it's not available on the Spotify audiobook thing. So I bought it and I'm reading it. And you just like know what's happening, and it's got 3 point of views. It's got his best friend's, and then hers. And I'm like halfway through the best friend one. I finished his, and like it was just so like, what's going to happen. And he's just talking about like how much he loved her and how secretly in love with her he was, and all this stuff, like all of this stuff. And you just like know he's going to die. So you're just like you're just crying. And then it gets to the best friend's point of view and it's even worse. So I don't even want to know. I mean, I do want to know, but I'm nervous to get to hers. Because like now he's like dead and I'm sure it's going to talk about her being pregnant with his kid. And I'm not ready for it, you guys. And y'all know me, I get invested in things and I'm sure I'll be invested and obsessed with it for a while. But oh my God, I was just like, this can't be real. Like, what am I reading / listening to? Now, like, it is a fave, but it's like kind of a fave. I probably will never read these books again because it's just like, it hurts my soul, but I recommend it. As I just spoiled it, sorry about that, but it's true. I had to talk about it for a second. So definitely read it. If you skip through to this point, read If He Had Been With Me, and then the second book is called If Only I Had Told Her. It's so okay. I'm moving on before this whole episode, this check-in episode turns into a book review. So let's get right into it. Again, like I said earlier, this is technically the 11th episode, but I wanted to do a check-in. You've technically listened to 10, so I thought it was like a good play on word of 10 episode check-in. And I think I was trying to format it in a way like I formatted the very first episode when I was introducing myself. But obviously not introducing myself, but talking about, life updates, podcast struggles that I wasn't anticipating, talking about like my favorite episodes, et cetera, et cetera. And before we get into all of that, I have another story. Okay. So the 9th episode was celebrity encounters with my friend Emma. And we were talking about all the celebrity encounters we have ever, gone through. And we forgot the biggest one, like the most important one. And it was the only one we experienced together. I don't know how we didn't talk about it. And we had recorded it. I had edited it. I think it was like 2 days before it was going to be released. And she had texted me and she was like, we forgot the Joshua Bassett story. And I was like, oh my God, we did. So we met Joshua Bassett and it was such a crazy experience. If you've read fan fiction, this is a Your Name story. And I'll tell you why. So like I said in the first episode, the Sabrina Carpenter, Olivia Rodrigo, Joshua Bassett chokehold, love triangle had a chokehold on me. Teenage girl in my 20s. We've been through this. And I saw Olivia Rodrigo in concert, and then I also saw Sabrina Carpenter, and I saw that Joshua Bassett was coming to Dallas. And I was like, oh my gosh, I should go, see all 3. I think I knew at the time maybe 3 or 4 Joshua Bassett songs. Like I didn't know really any of them. And I was looking at he was going to the House of Blues in Dallas. And if you've been to the House of Blues, it's standing room, but then they have like an upstairs balcony kind of thing with seats. And the last row of those balcony seats, the tickets were like $250. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I don't even think he has a full album yet. Why are these concert tickets almost $300 at the House of Blues? I was like, yeah, no, screw that. I'm not going. And then I think 2 or 3 days before the concert, I just checked again and I saw 2 front row tickets in the balcony, like it was like broken up into 3 sections, and it was the first 2 seats in the middle section in the front row, and they were $60 a piece. So I bought them and I invited Emma to go with me. And we're just sitting there. We get to the venue and we sit down in our seats. And I had never been so close to an artist performing. I know we were in the balcony, like we were up a little bit, but we were still like kind of close. Like I could see him perfectly, or the opener was on when we got there. So I could see the opener on like pretty close. And she kept looking up and I was like, is she looking into my eyes? Like, what the, this is crazy, you know? I'm like, we're really close. And there was this sweet girl behind us. And she was like, would y'all mind? I'm pretty sure she was in high school. And she was just like, when he comes out, would y'all mind if I like maybe hop down, there with y'all? And I was like, oh yeah, girl. Like we know no songs. We're here to hang, that kind of thing. And Joshua Bassett came out. And this motherfucker like catapulted from like backstage. The way he flew onto the stage, I was like, what? And he was so out of breath. I was like, probably because you used all your energy to catapult. Like, you got to sing. And he was just like so breathy when he was performing. And I was like, hello? And then the sweet girl, jumped in and we were like, to the whatever song he was singing. And then this fucking bitch who was working the event made her sit back down, or not sit down, but get back to like where her seat was. And I was like, damn, that sucks, girl. But I was wearing this like bright pink top that I have with jeans, and I was pretty reflective. I noticed that like the lights were off in the house, but I was still pretty reflective. And I was like, I kept making eye contact with Joshua Bassett. And I was like, I thought it was in my head. So I was just like, he's just like looking up at the crowd. And then at one point, Emma was like, is Joshua Bassett in love with you? Why does he keep glancing over here? And I was like, okay, so it's not in my head. Oh my God, Joshua Bassett's looking at me. Okay. And then at one point, I think he was like pointing, and I like pointed back and he giggled, and I was like, this is crazy, right? And he then, in like the middle of his performance, he's singing some song, and he's just like singing like and on stage, and then he just walks off, and we're like, hello, but you can still hear him sing. And then all the fucking sudden he comes in from like a door, I'm assuming from backstage, to the balcony, and he is walking through. So we're in the middle, and he starts off like, if you're looking at the stage, he's starting off on the right hand side of the balcony, like seats, and he's just going through the front row, and he's shaking people's hand. And I'm like, Emma, fucking get your phone out. Like, this needs to be recorded. So she has her phone out because I wanted to be a cool girl. I wanted to be your name, like, oh, I don't know any song here. I'm just here to hang, whatever. So Emma's recording. He shakes her hand first. And then Emma's like blocking his way. And he like frat boy head nods her like, move, bitch. And you can hear in the video, oh, I'm so sorry, and she moves out of the way, and then he shakes my hand, and then he keeps going. And I was just like, hello, this was crazy. And that was really it. And then he went on, finished the concert, and I was just like, oh my God, had a your name moment, met Joshua Bassett. And he kept giggling and looking at me. All right. Like, and I have a witness there. So this isn't me lying. I've got a witness, and it was true. Like, it was so funny. And also during that concert, that same bitch that made the girl move back, to her seat, we had gone to the bathroom like in the middle of the concert, and Emma and I both had like the 21-year-old wristband on, so you didn't have to show your ID when you were getting like drinks. And this girl or this woman followed us into the bathroom because she thought Emma was underage and that I was giving her alcohol. So I walk out of the stall first, and this woman's just standing there, and I was waiting for Emma, and I was like, Emma, like I just called her name, and she was like, your friend's in there. And I was like, okay. And then Emma walks out with like her White Claw, and then the girl's like, or the woman's like, I need to see your, like, where's your wristband? And Emma was like, right here. And then she talks into her walkie-talkie and goes, she's good, and then walks out. And I was like, that was weird. Like, girl, get a life, you know? But yeah, that's the Joshua Bassett story. I did want that story to see the light of day. So I was like, ooh, I'll just, say it real quick before I get into my check-in episode. But yeah, that was crazy. And it was super funny and just all around like that just happened kind of thing. And Emma's sister Kate was also at that concert, but she was standing room, and we kept like pointing at her, and we were like, this is funny. And yeah, it was just all around a funny time. And yeah, whatever. He was fine. Okay, now into the actual check-in. I will get to the episode now. You're probably like, you could just keep talking, Rheagan. Talk about what you mean to talk about. I really wanted to talk about the podcast struggles that I just wasn't anticipating when I started one. So when I decided to start one, I recorded about 3 to 4 episodes before I launched the first one. And the first 4 were, it was, let me introduce myself, self-care and wellness in your 20s, the roommate advice with Allison. She was my first guest. And I'm like, what was was the 4th one? Starting the year off right? I'm looking. It was, I'm like, why don't I know my own podcast episodes? Sounds about right. It was 23 things I learned in 2023. Okay. I was like, I don't think it was the starting the year off right. So I think I had pre-recorded all 4 of those and then launched, let me introduce myself. So I wouldn't have to feel like I was scrambling to put an episode together. And, I would be a couple weeks in advance. And I would record one each week. So I always just had, I was just a couple weeks early each time. And I let myself get lazy. And I was just like, oh, well, I've got one going out. So like, it's fine. I don't need to record this week. Or I don't have an idea. So I'll, wait until one comes to me or whatever. Or unexpected things would happen and I wouldn't be able to record the day I wanted to. That's what happened with the bye week that I had a couple weeks ago. I was supposed to record an episode and something unexpected happened that required my attention. I wish I could tell y'all that story. I really do. But it's not my story to tell. So I won't. Maybe one day I could convince a certain someone to tell the story. But until then, it remains a mystery. And so I couldn't record it. And so I was just like, you know what? We'll just have a bye week. It's totally fine. And I noticed doing that lost my traction on visibility on like social platforms and all of that. So hopefully I don't have to do that again because it was just kind of like, oh crap, because I was gaining pretty good traction and showing up in places or showing up for a couple thousand, a couple thousand, when you reach a couple thousand profiles, that doesn't translate into listens or follows or anything. It just means you, like, if it was an Instagram reel, it got the interest of 1,000 profiles or people. I love being a digital marketer. So that was just kind of frustrating. And also like the lack of creativity that I was feeling at some points, because there would be some weeks where I had an idea. Like, for example, I remember the Cooking on a Budget episode. I had something completely different planned for that episode. I was going to have a guest on and I'm still going to have that guest and still doing that podcast episode. She just got busy, so she couldn't come and do it. And I had to scramble and think of a new episode. And alone. So I had just was like, what about cooking on a budget? I could just talk about what I do. And I sat down and did that all in the same day. And those are and I know it's like, okay, you should be proud of everything that you put out. That's not it. It's just, I could have done better with that, but it was just a lack of planning. So I'm learning how to actually plan these episodes out. And I've also fallen behind. For example, like today's Sunday. This episode is going out on Wednesday. So it's Sunday the 18th. And then what day is Wednesday? The 22nd? 21st? I think it's the 21st. Like you'll get it 3 days later. Again, lack of planning. I don't, But then there were some episodes that I did have planned. Like Brand's episode, The Dating Horror Stories, that was recorded in January. And it didn't come out till Valentine's Day. And like I had recorded that. And then I recorded Celebrity Encounters. All that to say, getting used to the planning. It was something I just didn't expect to take a lot of my time. I was like, oh, I'll just sit down and talk for an hour. It's hard to talk for an hour, especially when you don't have a guest. Also, I wrote down, speaking of the Dating Horror Story episode, I hope y'all enjoyed that. That episode is probably hands down my favorite one because it's just so silly and goofy. Like there is no like serious things that happened in that. It's just all jokes and reminiscing on the past. And Bryn had one of the stories that she told, she was still talking, like just in contact with one of the guys. And she had told him that this podcast episode was going out. And then he had texted her a few days after it had gone out and was like, hey, like, where am I in the episode? Like, where can I go? And she was like, just listen to it. Like, you're there eventually. This man, I'm pretty sure, had to listen to 30 minutes of footage or 30 minutes of the podcast just of us chit-chatting. And then I think she tells his story. And he fucking unfollowed her because homeboy couldn't take a joke. And that story actually is probably the kindest of all of them. So it was just funny. And I was like, damn, dude, take a fucking joke. And nothing was bad. It was hilarious. She had texted me and was like, bro, you will not believe what just happened. I was like, that's crazy. Screw that guy. But it was just funny. And I thought I'd mention it. And another like podcast struggle was, hang on, I have to take a sip of water, was the technical difficulties that I wasn't expecting. So I have this microphone. I'm always forgetting the name. It's like a Samsung. It's not Samsung. It's like Samsung. I don't remember. Or maybe it's Samsung. Wait, Sun Sam. I don't remember. And I had it. And it's been great. And then I bought a second one before Allison came on because it was stupid to have a podcast where you're sharing a mic. Like, it would never work. Like, you're just like, tossing the mic back and forth. And when we were recording Bryn's, we had technical difficulties with the new microphone, the one that I had just bought. Like, I think I had it for like a month. And she was in the middle of talking, and you could just, I have, I record on GarageBand, so I have GarageBand pulled up, and you could just notice that there was a lag. I wasn't wearing headphones, this is why I now wear headphones for every episode. I wasn't wearing anything, so I had just noticed the lines in the audio. I was like, something's off. So I told her to stop talking, and then we paused, and I had listened back, and it was like the mic cord broke. It wasn't the mic, it was just the cord, and it had died on her, or broke on her, because these aren't, these only work when they're plugged in. You can't take this out, and they don't produce audio, like another microphone. And that didn't make much sense. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have it plugged into something to listen to it. It's not going to be like a karaoke mic or a wireless mic where you can just turn it on and hear, like, be loud. And we'd stopped recording. I went back, and she had said double homicide, and probably a story I was telling. That was the last thing the mic picked up. And then it would continue recording me, but then you would just hear Brent say double homicide. exactly like that, like real low, and just like double homicide every couple seconds. And I was like, what the fuck? And I could not figure out how to fix it. And I was like, I just need to go and get a new cord. But Bryn doesn't live here. Bryn lives in Austin. We couldn't, stop and re-record, or, and we were on a time limit. This was like the only, or time limit, whatever. Like, this was going out on Valentine's Day, and this was the only 2 days that we could record. And again, the reason why I had a bye week was the reason why I couldn't find a new cord. So if you if you watch the podcast on YouTube and you watched that one, you notice like halfway through it just goes to the logo. That's because Bryn and I had to share the mic for the rest of the episode, because I was like, we have to finish recording it. It sounds fine. It's not as great as the beginning, because it's not as conversational, because we were like, do not talk unless you're ready to like signal that you're ready to talk, that kind of thing. And it was just all around frustrating. I was so upset. And then, the next episode that I recorded was Emma's, and I ran around so many stores that day. I went to 1 Target and 3 Best Buys. The Target I went to, I thought I bought the right thing. I did not. So I came home, tried to plug it in, and I was like, fuck. And this all happened the same day Emma and I recorded that pod episode. And then I went to the Best Buy that's the closest to me. They said they had them in stock. They were not there. And the guy who was helping me, his name was Jesus. He wasn't it was probably pronounced Jesus, but I was like, I thought Jesus would be able to help me better than this. And he was like, yeah, it's just not here. And I was like, all right, guess I'm. And then I was like, but your website says that you have them in stock. And he was like, well, some people could have stolen them. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go. So then I went to a new Best Buy, found what I needed, came back. It was all good and dandy. But it was very frustrating. And I was like, okay, guess I need to be prepared to have some technical difficulties. And now I have to wear these dumb fucking headphones when I record. I don't like to do that. I don't like listening while I'm talking. It's like really weird to me. But I guess I need to make sure that the audio is good and that nothing's happening. So that's why I'm wearing these janky headphones. They're not even like good headphones. I've had them forever. They're just like these $10 heyday headphones. I mean, they work, so it's fine. But I'm just like, I don't look like a professional podcaster with these dumb fucking plastic things covering my ears. But it's fine. So that has really been the main struggles with having a podcast. Editing is good. I've gotten the hang of it. And sometimes it gets frustrating trying to find a like clip, because if you follow the podcast on, the social platforms, there's constant, clips from each episode going out. And that's a part where I struggle. Because it's just like, okay, do I want that one in? And then when I pick one, it's a lot of but a lot of filler words that I've been trying really hard not to say, but sometimes you can't help it, that kind of thing. So sometimes it's a struggle to create those, but I hope everyone likes them, because I do. So I will continue to do them, because that's also how you gain traction. And I remember the first piece of advice that my brother gave me about this was, you're not going to see overnight results. You have to keep at it. And he was right. Not that I was expecting to get famous overnight. That wasn't it. But it's slow growth. We're 11, technically 12 weeks from the first episode. And there's, I believe, 86 followers on Instagram. There's like 40 on TikTok. I think there's 70 people subscribed to the YouTube channel. And on average, there is about 60 listens to every episode. It just depends. Me sharing the analytics. But I'm like, it's not bad for what it is. It's really fun. I really do truly enjoy doing it. And another struggle that I have is the solo versus guest episodes. So I know that I'm the host and solo episodes need to be a thing. And I find myself, I've gotten used to listening to myself talk. I listen to these episodes all the way through before I even edit them. And I make sure, you know, I don't say anything stupid or that there's no weird like lag in the audio or whatever. I just make sure to listen back as one should. I don't think it would be smart to just be like, all right, boom, pod up now. Pod ep is now. Oh my God. Form a sentence. You don't listen to it and then you just release it and you're like, new ep out. I think that can be careless in my opinion. But I find myself, I mainly re-listen to the guest episodes. Now that could be because, you know, it's hard to listen to myself talk when it's not necessary for an hour. But I just find that the conversations that I have with the guests that I've been on more entertaining. And I do know that it's easier to listen to a conversation than it is just someone talking to you. I could be wrong. I think it also might depend on the person. But I just listen back to it. And I've been seeing what you guys prefer, and the 5 most popular episodes are oh my gosh, let me introduce myself. That is the most popular episode. It still grows and listens every week. The self-care and wellness in your 20s is second. Third is roommate advice with Allison. Fourth is how to start the year off right with Katie, and then fifth is dating horror stories with Bryn. And it's like, okay, there are 2 solo episodes out there that are up, you know, they're the top 2. And then you've got the next 3 are those guests. And I'm like, okay, I can't tell, you know, can't tell what you guys like. And I'm also saying, I'm like, you don't have to tell me what to do. I will still put out solo episodes and do what I want, but it's like, what do you prefer? So I had the idea that I'll probably put on the Instagram story soon that like polls. Do you prefer this? Do you like do you like the guests? Do you like the solos? Tell me what you like, please, because at the end of the day, if your audience doesn't like the content you're putting out, you know, you have to listen to your audience. So this is me trying to listen to y'all. But every time I post and ask a question, none of y'all answer. So can you do that for me for this? Pretty please, because I need to know what y'all like so I know what to put out. Same thing with the advice driven. Like I noticed when I was planning out episodes, they've been advice driven. And I'm like, hello, I only know so much about the world. I do have great advice. I will say that about myself. I do. But I'm like, I need to hear your thoughts. Or do you prefer the story times? I know I prefer the story times because some of these advice driven ones, I'm like, what do I know about that? Here I go telling you how to start the year off right. I'm like, hello, what right do I have? Self-care and wellness? I mean, yeah, this is what I do. So it's just like, what do you prefer? What would you rather listen to? So I'm going to be asking that on the Instagram stories, and I really hope that y'all, you know, respond to that because I would love it if you did. I think both are valuable content. I'm not saying that it's not. I think the story times are a fun time, you know, and then there's times to, you know, provide value in life. But I think sometimes some people would prefer to listen to things that provide value instead of just me lollygagging and talking about my dating history, you know? But that was for Valentine's Day, okay? It was so fun. But yeah, that's kind of the main update that I have, like, with the podcast. I think it's doing really well for where it's at. I'm having so much fun. I love this hobby that I have. Like, I really do. And I'm like, I want to get paid. I'm like, how do you do that? I mean, I know how you do that, but I'm just like, how do you get paid immediately, you know? So it's just like Sugar Bear Hair. BetterHelp, sponsor me, please. But yeah, for the sake of like life updates, I don't think I have any. My life is the exact same from the first episode. I live in the same apartment. I have the same friends. I work at the same job. I haven't changed. And that's not a bad thing. I've been doing 75 hard has turned into 75 soft. Man, that shit was hard. I did it consistently for about 2.5 weeks. Then I gave in. I'm still, and by that, I mean, I had one drink when I went out and I was like, fuck, I didn't need it, but I did it because I was just like, I need something to sip on. That's not water, but did pretty good, honestly. I'm still not drinking like a lot, like whatever, but I've been following, the diet that I said I was following. Like I'm still working out every single day. It's just that I had a sip of alcohol. My bad. But yeah, not famous yet. So keep up the listens, share the podcast so I can get famous. I would prefer it. I'm just kidding. I'm not chasing fame, just a little bit. But I do truly love having it. I do love doing this every day. I mean, kind of. I mean, I'm working on like social content for it every day and planning and whatnot. Oh my gosh. I thought this power line that I'm looking at out of my apartment looks like that the statue in Rio. You know what I'm talking about? I was like, oh, what's it doing over here? It's a power line. I feel stupid. Anyway. And I enjoy doing it. I have so much fun. I love it when like you guys, like mainly my friends and family, they're like, oh, great new pod. My mom had texted me after the Dating Horror Stories one came out. She was like, oh, that episode was so good, but you cussed a lot in that. And I was like, whoops. I was just passionate about what I was talking about. And I thought that the only way to portray it was by using profanity. So, yeah. And speaking of, I've convinced the one and only Troy Chapman to make merch for the pod. My dad makes merch for like fucking everything. He's got so many brands. He's got his company, which makes sense. And then him and his business partner have a house in Port A, and they take like clients there and whatnot. And he has a t-shirt. He has a brand called CM Coastal. So he's got that t-shirt. He has decided that there's no good sports bars in Georgetown. So he has named our casita the Rock Nettle Cantina. And it's like a bar, and it's got a shit ton of TVs, and there's a sound machine in there like for karaoke, and then there's what's that game, the golf game, like oh my gosh, why am I blanking on it, the golf video game, Golden Tee. It's called Golden Tee. He's got Golden Tee there. It's like a cute little hangout. I love hanging out there, and I love singing, so he's got that. He used to do sausage wrap reviews, and he would call them high quality dongs, and he made t-shirts for that. And then he also made another brand that I'm not going to talk about. He made a t-shirt for something, and it's disgusting, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. But yeah, he's like an expert at it. So I had texted him, and I was like, hey, would you want to make merch for my podcast? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, slay. So hopefully there's like a t-shirt coming, maybe a sweatshirt. I had an idea for a hat that was like going to have a bow on the front, and then on the back it would say have a bow day. It was just an idea I had. I'm not sure what will come true. So let me know if you want Divorce Made Me Funny merch. I would be happy, to give it to you, or maybe make you pay for it so I can make some money. I don't know. But with all that being said, that wraps up the episode. That is the end of my little 10 episode check-in. Again, I really do appreciate that you guys listen to it, especially if you listen to it all the way through. I know I have podcasts that I will listen to, but I don't ever finish an episode. So if you're one of those people that do, know I love and appreciate you. And even if you don't listen to it, even if you just like watch it on, Instagram or TikTok or whatever, know it's still appreciated. So yeah, I've got some exciting episodes in the works. I hope y'all stick around to listen to them. And that's really it. I hope y'all have a great rest of your day, week, month, year. And yeah, I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And I will talk to y'all next week. So this has been the end of the 11th episode of Divorce Made Me Funny. All right. Bye.